Welcome back to Two Brothers Comics. And y'all know what day it is of the week. Yeah, it's new comic day, but it's What If Wednesday. So stay tuned and we're going to go over What If issue number 5. Welcome back, guys. Hope everybody had a great Wednesday and a great new comic book day. You guys know What If Wednesday, I'm not ever alone, so I'm going to bring my co-host in, the Captain Comics. What's going on, man?
What up, mates? How are you on this lovely What If Wednesday?
Doing good, man. Doing good. I think we got a better issue this week to talk about.
I believe so, too. We don't have nine Captain Americas like last week.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we still have a few, but it's a better storyline. There's a little more meat on the bone, and there's a lot more of a circumstantial change to the Marvel storyline, I think, with what goes on here than last week.
Yeah, and this one sticks with the story. Last week's one jumped here, jumped there, jumped back to this, jumped back. You know, this is a story all the way from start to finish.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Before we get going too far, let's check this chat out. We've got a few people watching. We have Magic Lasso. Hello, how are you doing, man? See, what if Cap trotted over to DC and scooped up Amazon princess for a bride?
Well, I don't like to take women willingly, you know.
Oh, we have some comic book hunter. What's going on? How are you guys doing? Glad I got my notifications to work. Good deal, man. Yeah, everybody make sure you got that notification bell turned on so you don't miss out. Let's see here. Do we have anybody else in here? So we've got What If Spidey Never Married Mary Jane? To be honest, haven't read it yet. Yeah, I believe that's later on in the first series.
Yeah.
So hello. Samuel David, how you doing? Good to have you on the stream. All right, guys. So thanks for everybody who is tuning in. This is a weekly episodic show that we're doing here, going through the What If series. This is a series that Cap and I both just through talking realized that we both enjoyed and had for the most part the whole series, and kind of don't think this series gets as much love as it should. So we wanted to kind of spotlight it and bring it to everyone's attention because there's a lot of people that maybe haven't read them. There's a lot of these that I'm reading as I'm going to, but it's just a really cool series. There's a lot of really cool different scenarios that pop up in these.
And I have to refresh on some of them too. You know, I read them 10 years ago or whatever, you know, and then I'm like, oh yeah, that now I remember this story or that, you know. But I agree with you. You know, we're both What If fans. There's a lot of collectors out there that just collect them but don't read them, you know, or they spec on something, you know, Jane Foster getting a hammer, you know, they go after the key ones.
Right.
You know, it's like any collection. If you want all of them, you got to get them all.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you know, last week we had What If the Invaders had not disbanded, and like we said, that one was kind of a little bit of a slow read, hard to follow, and this one definitely picked up because this was kind of these are basically all alternatives to the canon. So this week's book is an alternative to last week's alternative to canon. So you can really go down that.
I had to do something to make up from last week's one.
Right. And you know, these things, you know, you can really get real deep in that twilight zone sometimes with how these go. And you know, I think What If is something that we all do a lot. It's a game we all play with a lot of things. You know, what if, you know, crap with sports, you know, what if Michael Jordan and LeBron James had played at the same time, or What if Barry Bonds and Babe Ruth were able to play at the same time, and you know, all these different things. So of course, with comic books, it's something that we always do. And this is cool that we do have a couple of series that we can go and actually read and see what would have happened. So we just had the Comic Corps pop in here. What's going on, guys? Hope you guys are doing well. They have a show on Wednesdays that is always a lot of fun too. So let's jump into this. What if Captain America hadn't vanished during World War II? So last week, Captain America and Bucky both died in World War II. And this issue picks up kind of with the same beginning, where you have Bucky and Captain America, and they're trying to dismember this bomb attached to a drone. And so last week, Bucky decided that he was going to try to take it and you know, disable it. And Cap's telling him, no, don't. You can't do it without my help. And he's like, I got it. And they both died. Well, this week, he's like, yeah, you know what? You're right, Cap. I can't do it without you. So Captain America gets in there, starts ripping out wires, and they disable it. Now, the one thing that this does do right off the bat is with Captain America and Bucky making it through this and there's no issues, we don't have that storyline where Captain America vanishes for you know, however long and is frozen.
Yeah.
So that's going to play a major part in that whole thing. So Baron Zemo is the villain here, and he was the villain in the first one. And so once he goes and he explains to Red Skull that Cap and Bucky both got away, they made it out of there, the drone was disabled, and Red Skull's just like, you know, you idiot, you know, you failed me again. And man, did you notice all the German speaking? Like yeah. Trying to read that in my head, some of it, like it was making me laugh. And the way that they spell Captain America sometimes, and they throw K's in and I's and A's where they shouldn't be, you know, if you're reading in proper, you know, English. So that was pretty good to try to read through that. So Red Skull leaves, and he basically leaves his whole entire crew there to die, and he abandons Baron Zemo and everybody else, which kind of ticks Baron off, and we see that later. He does escape. So that's where we start there, and that leads us into Korea and the fact that
Red Skull shot him because he disappointed in him.
Right. Yeah. Yep. You're right. I skipped that part. Yeah. And I'm seeing that here. And I love this artwork on Red Skull here. It's awesome. The face that he makes right here is that was just a hilarious looking face. Yeah. He's just like, you know, do what?
There's nothing to explain. You failed. You die. That's
right. So we see Captain America and Bucky fighting with what is going to be the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Sergeant Nick Fury. And then we find out, as we get into it, that there's a boy reading a newspaper, you know, the extra, read all about it. Nick Fury dies from a grenade hitting him on his left side in his bad eye. Captain America's like, I told him to watch out on that eye, to get that eye fixed. And, you know, so Nick Fury, that right there is the first, you know, consequence that we see. Nick Fury is done. He dies right off the bat. So that leaves a hole in the spectrum already, which is going to have to be filled. Now, who is going to be able to fill that role? They are going to put Captain America there, you would think, right? No, nope.
Right.
Captain America.
Sit down with the president.
Right.
President's going to offer him a job. But at this time, Bucky's retired. He doesn't. Yeah, he's retired right now. Bucky is.
Yeah, he says he's too old at this point to be running around in spandex costumes. And that's actually funny that he says that when we get into what happens later on. So Bucky decides, you know what? I'm too old to be doing the spandex hero costume thing. Let me just take an easier job. I'll go ahead and I'll be the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, that's something quick. And I love how and we'll see later on when the next person takes that spot, how they make that job out to just be cake. Like, it's just no big deal to be the director of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I just sit at a desk all day, point, and tell people what to do, you know.
Right.
That's what S.H.I.E.L.D. does.
Right. So we see that. So now we see Bucky has moved into that position as the director of S.H.I.E.L.D.
And we get more of the Watcher coming in and out of these stories too, and explaining different things too on theories.
Right. So you see the Watcher pops in there, and then you get this great page here of artwork, just basically going through Bucky and Captain America and you know, the struggle deciding, you know, after all of this, I think it's time for me to retire, Cap. And you know, I'm too old for this. And you know, if I'm too old, like, you're definitely too old for this. And it's cool because they change the way the Watcher looks sometimes. To me, it's cool because sometimes he looks like he's a goofy, silly looking character, and then you get these panels like this where he looks really serious and you know, someone not to be trifled with.
Almost a Kingpin look.
Right. I think if I was going to build a mega superpower team, I think the Watcher would be a great person to have on there that people don't think about, because he has the ability to change. And now we're going to be in this dimension of and going along with this timeline. And he can't change the timeline. He can just, you know, show you the alternate timeline. So, you know, I don't know how that would play into things, but it's definitely a cool concept that's his power. That's what this guy does, is he has the ability to see all these alternate timelines.
Yeah, which is, you know, he watches, but yet he watches the alternative play out on this or that, you know.
Right. So we move on to we find that the Supreme Hydra has made an appearance here. So Bucky and S.H.I.E.L.D. are going after the Supreme Hydra, and what happens? The Supreme Hydra gets away, and that's going to play a big part later on too, especially the fact that Bucky is the one that failed to secure him. A little bit of irony later on, some kind of some foreshadowing here on what's going to happen later on. And so then we move into, and I've actually got the book here. That this one is. So then we move on to Captain America coming into contact with the Hulk and Rick Jones. And you do have the asterisk here, which directs you back to Captain America issue 110 here. So I love that about these books too. When it is going to give you an alternative to canon, it will give you a reference point of where to look back to. And some of this is dating all the way back to Golden Age Captain America. And then a lot of this is moving finally into some of the Silver Age Captain America stuff. So that's really cool that they do that, because a lot of this stuff, especially the Golden Age and some of the older Silver Age, I'm not extremely familiar with because I haven't read a lot of it. But to be able to say, okay, this is what this is, I can go on my Marvel Unlimited app, or if you have Omnibus or whatever, and you can kind of just pick through and look at some of this stuff to see what actually happens, so you can see where the changes are being made.
Well, and that's the thing too. This came out in 1977. So a lot of the stuff, you know, that we consider Golden Age really wasn't Golden Age then. It was only, you know, 5, 10, 15 years ago, which, you know, wasn't that long in comic books, you know, not compared to, like, you know, it's 2020 now, and we're reading a 1977 comic book, you know.
Yeah,
there's quite a big difference in there.
That's definitely a good point that I didn't even think about. I mean, you know, like the last issue we read was dating, but it had books that was talking about, you know, Captain America #1, and you know, that book was probably closer in release date to Captain America 1, than the book we're reading now is to where we're at right now. So that's definitely a good point that I didn't even think about on the fact that they're referencing books that actually weren't that long ago when these books came out.
Right.
So yeah, that was an awesome point, man. Awesome
Because what
point.
year did that Hulk one come out? That Captain America one that you got, right?
I believe this one is 67 or 68. If I'm not mistaken, I think it actually might be
only 10 years difference from this book to that book, you know,
right.
that effort scene too.
Right. Absolutely. So we see here Captain America is getting into it with the Hulk. The Hulk shows up with Rick Jones, and the Hulk and Captain America get into a tussle. And Rick Jones is like, no, stop. You're just misunderstanding. He's confused. He's this, he's that. And Captain America starts toting a whooping, and the Hulk starts putting it on him. And Bucky is noticing, like, yo, the Cap is getting, he's showing his age here, and he's not as fast as he used to be. He's not as strong as he used to be. He's not got the agility he used to have. And he's noticing this, and Cap kind of goes down and gets knocked out here. And that's something that's not that Bucky's not used to seeing. And I think, nobody really is, because, I mean, who just walks in and lays Captain America out? That don't happen. Then
I would always put my money on Hulk, doing that.
Oh, yeah.
Always.
Yeah, I guess even with Cap, yeah, for sure.
But like you said, with the speed, he could dodge punches and kicks, be able to outmaneuver them. But if he's slower, getting a whopping on, he's not going to last very long.
Right. Absolutely. And
I like the commercials. They got an old picture of me in high school right there.
That's exactly what I was about to show. I was going to show the other one with the old Avengers kites there. Like, how cool is that? Like, I would love to grab one of those.
Oh, yeah.
He loves flying the kites, and they're called Sky Heroes. They got superhero dolls. The superhero.
The Conan doll at the bottom of that.
What's that?
You see the Conan doll at the bottom of it? How big his hair is?
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome to see those old ads in these. That's so cool. So we got a few more people jumped in. Let's see. We have John's Comics with Kids. What's up, man? Good to see you. Superior Hero. What is up? What is up?
Mr. Hero.
Rod the Rican. Uncle Rod. Cardstock variant. What is going on? What is going on? And we have Chaos is in the house. And the smartest man in the comic book community, Mr. Greg, the bearded comic bro, the champion of comic book trivia. What is up? What is up? So we move on. We found out, through all this, the Hulk has his way with Captain America, and Bucky picks up the shield, and he is now wielding the shield and basically protecting. I see you, Chaos. Don't be mad, dude. Hey, you was wrong. And he's basically protecting Captain America from all this falling rubble, because the Hulk has basically caused this whole building to come down. And then he's getting mad, saying, "Oh, the building's coming down. They're going to blame the Hulk." Well, yeah, dude, you kind of came busting through the freaking walls, tearing the building down. So
they want people to start shooting at me again.
Right. All about movies and TV, collecting Blu-ray and DVD. What is going on? I think this is the first time I've noticed you in our chat. So welcome.
Welcome.
Hopefully, you enjoy the show, and we do a lot of stuff on here. So hopefully you enjoy our channel. What if Jane Foster and what if the Alien Spidey are two of my favorite what ifs? Yeah, we're definitely going to get into those. Absolutely.
Jane Foster's only 5 away.
Yep.
4 away.
Yeah. Yep. So now
yeah, we got who was it? Steve Rogers.
Yep.
Knocked out.
He's laid up in bed right next to Rick Jones. And so Bucky is just basically sitting there telling him like, or Bucky says, okay. No, excuse me. Steve is telling Rick like, hey, until the Hulk's under control, you cannot be around him anymore.
Right.
And then out of the shadows, we see a character, and it's just all dark there. Says, I second that statement, Cap. And then Captain America turns around and sees himself standing there, and it's super funny. If you wanna read that panel there, where he sees Bucky for the first time at the top of the page there.
What? Either I'm suffering from a battle fatigue, or that's me only. How you used to look.
Yeah.
It's a little baggy. Just a little.
So yeah, it's so funny because Captain America is like kind of Steve Rogers is kind of taken back, like, whoa, that looks like me standing there, and he's like, it's just maybe. And Bucky said, yeah, a little younger, a little better looking, a little bit better shape, definitely. And he said suit fits great, it's a little baggy, but so he basically at this point talks Captain America into retirement.
Right, because he's like, I saved you. I don't have any super serum, no nothing like that, but I saved you.
Right, exactly.
You got knocked out, so I saved you.
Yeah, and how many people have the ability to tell Cap that, like, like, man, you couldn't cut it in that fight. I had to protect you. Maybe it's time, you put the shield down and, go ahead and jump into retirement, start hitting the golf courses up, and enjoy some midday drinking. Let me handle the tough stuff.
Right. I'll let you be charge of shield in your retirement.
Right. And it's hilarious here. You get Captain America. He says, you think not, Mr. Barnes. Feel that. Tell me if that still says I'm not in top fighting form. And he's flexing the bicep there, basically saying, you don't think I can cut it anymore? Does that right there look like I can't cut it anymore? He said, hate to twist the knife, Steve, but I was the one that saved you from the Hulk. So, all that flexing ain't doing you much good.
Right.
And, so this is a way to continue having a Captain America without putting Steve Rogers in danger, and really not putting people that he's trying to protect in danger. And you can't have Captain America without a Bucky Barnes. So we got to have a new Bucky Barnes now. So who steps in to take Bucky's spot, puts on that costume? Rick Jones.
That would be my first choice anyways, would be Bucky if anything ever happened, and that's what you kind of, same thing with Batman and Robin. You assume that eventually Robin would take over for Batman,
Yep.
That lines. It's the same concept. You always think of the predecessor always growing up and taking over for the master, and this would be one of them prime examples. I would vote for Bucky more than I would any other character to be Captain America. Right. Unlike the last one, I think we had 6 or 9 different Captain Americas before the damn thing was over.
Right, exactly. So, it's like we need a hero. We still need to have this persona stay alive and continue on. It doesn't matter who's under the mask and wielding the shield, as long as they can do the job. That's what's important. So Steve Rogers, he goes and takes over this wonderfully cushy job as the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. now. And Bucky is now Captain America. And we have a new Bucky Rogers, which is Rick Jones. So everything is good to go now. And it's funny that Captain America even says, in the next panel, you have this big fight going on with Hydra and S.H.I.E.L.D. and just bullets flying everywhere. Steve Rogers right in the middle of it in a suit. And he's sitting there saying, I got to admit, this role does suit someone of my age and feels better for my age and for where I'm at right now. And I'm just cracking up at the fact that they're downplaying this job and this title of being director of S.H.I.E.L.D. as much as they can.
I know. I mean, without Nick Fury, the job's slack or what, you know?
Right. He definitely made it seem a little bit more of a task to handle.
All right.
So then we see that Hydra has a new headquarters, and they've been able to find out where this is through some leaks. Because they got we got leaks now on the internet. They had information leaks back then too. So there was some info that got leaked, and we got Chaos dropping phone numbers in the chat here. We've got all kind of you guys are getting wild in there. So we find out that in this volcano, this live acting volcano, is where Hydra has set up. And then we see that S.H.I.E.L.D. is working with Captain and Bucky, quote unquote, Captain Bucky. And we find that Bucky has fallen in love with Agent 13. And they're going to take care of this last mission. This is going to be the final mission. And then Bucky and Sharon are going to get married, and they're just going to ride off into the sunset together. And that's the plan. And as soon as I read that, I already knew something bad was going to happen, because
it's like watching a movie, you know the ending before it even happens.
Right. If you're a superhero, you do not get to ride off into the sunset, you know, with the girl of your dreams and just live happily ever after. It does not happen. Yeah. So the team arrives and they break in to the volcano, and they notice that this is not an actual live functioning volcano. This is all just a facade. This is something that is being put on. There is fake lava being made inside to use to make smoke come out. And you see here that the Supreme Hydra is basically telling them, like, you gotta pump up the smoke a little bit. We gotta have more. It's gotta look, real. We can't let this stuff die down. And this panel here cracks me up, because you see Captain America's hand and you see Captain America's head, and he's knocking this guy out. You see the gun flying, and there's no body at all. You just have a floating head and a floating fist there. And that kind of cracked me up. It's like Captain America, where's the rest of his body?
Right.
Yeah, you get
they knock them out and take their clothes, It's just like,
yeah, so now they're doing the old switcheroo, trying to jump into the costume and trying to blend in. And of course they get caught, and it's like, it's the cheesiest thing too, but it cracked me up, because they're all sitting there and they're Hail Hydra, and then they're about to move on to the next quarter, and the guy says, hold on, something's not right. He said,
he's right. I've never saw a Hydra uniform hug curves like that before.
Yeah, so he's like checking out this guy right here, and basically saying like, hey, I never seen a Hydra guy with curves like that. So of course they notice that it is a woman, and I guess you can kind of see there, you can kind of see some underboob going on.
Well, they drew her better there than any other picture they got of her.
Yeah, no doubt. And I love these Hydra costumes that they have. I mean, they look like, it's just so old school. I mean, that would be, to me, that would be like a cool cosplay, to show up with a gang of folks at a Comic-Con. You just have these big green outfits with the big yellow H's on them and these crazy masks with sunglasses on. So they get caught, they get found out, and of course they just start ripping the clothes off. They break out of the clothes, and everybody just goes at it. And so we have a humongous fight going on here.
Yeah, and she says, it's time to do a quick strip tease, right, Cap?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some comedy put into this one, and I love that, because to read something like this and not really expecting the amount of humor you get, it definitely had me laughing every now and then, for sure. You've got Agent 13. I heard Rick guess it's time these characters learned it's not polite to make fun of a lady after they were talking about her curves, which apparently wasn't a very flattering thing to say about a woman at that time. Nowadays it absolutely is, in my mind. But, you know, I guess back then, you know, she kind of took offense to that. So we find out that Supreme Hydra has created this new weapon that is able to drain the life of any living creature just immediately. And so he's wanting to use that to basically, you know, what do bad guys want to do? Take over the world. So we move into the fight scene, and of course the whole team how does the whole team get captured at one time by these guys? I mean, these are just a bunch of jabroni guys here, and they are able to capture the entire team here.
Well, the zap gun goes off, you know, and everything went blank and everybody knocks out, you know.
Yeah, I guess so. That's what that was. I didn't notice that was what that was that went off. Okay. Yeah. So maybe that's what it was. Everybody just caught a little bit of that burst off of that thing.
And that knocked them all out.
Yeah. So everybody gets captured, and then we get a big reveal here. We see Supreme Hydra pull his mask off and reveals himself as Baron Zemo from the beginning of the story. Now, how did this happen? Well, Baron Zemo was frozen for 20 years, preserved like someone else we know. So even though Baron Zemo, so Captain America was not frozen. He got older. He aged. He got slower. He got older. Baron Zemo's not. He's just as good as he was in the beginning of the story now. And that's going to pose a problem, because now you have Bucky is just laid slap out. And he is shackled down with these humongous just metal braces. And he does not have this, even though he dons the Captain America attire, he is not a super soldier, so he cannot break free.
And Baron wants to see the face that he wants to avenge off of Captain America, you know?
Yep.
He already was talking to Steve while he was all tied up, I guess, or locked up.
Right. And it said, you know, Steve says that, you know, Baron's mind has, you know, dissipated a little bit. He doesn't even recognize the fact that he's talking to the guy that caused him to fail the Red Skull all those years ago. You know, he just sees the Captain America mask and, you know, wants to take that mask off and see who it is. And then when he does, he's still in his mind like, this is Captain America.
Right.
And
you're wearing a suit, so you're captain. Nobody else can wear this suit, so you're Captain America.
Right. But that does buy Captain America enough time to break free of those shackles, and he struggles with it for a minute, and, you know, kind of physically and mentally struggling with the fact of, you know, he can't break these things, and what is he going to do? And he's got to, you know, even he knows he's not the guy he used to be. One of those, you know, I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm good once as I'll ever be moments, and he's able to break free.
I got one shot left in me. I'm going to do it.
Yep.
And like you said, this is a little part where they start talking a little German, Das die Insta Captain Americas, you know, on the other page where he's revealing his mask. It's just like, I'm like, okay, am I saying this right? Do I pronounce this right?
Yeah. So Cap breaks free and a fight breaks out again. Now, at this point, he's got his, what they're calling, they called it a zapper.
Yeah, zap gun.
Zap gun. So the zap gun goes off, and they thought it hit Bucky, and Bucky says, no, I'm all right. I'm good. So Captain America's like, all right, Bucky's good. Like, this is it. And he reveals, Captain America is Bucky, so we need to refer to him as Steve Rogers. Steve Rogers reveals to himself that he is indeed the original Captain America to Zemo. And Baron kind of, you know, looks at him, and he's like, wait a second. Like, yeah, you are. It is you. And
why do you call him Bucky and he keeps calling you Steve?
Yeah. It's just all, you know, so he's confused at this point, which buys Cap enough time to pick up the shield. And, you know, he says, you know, I may not don the suit basically, but I can still throw this shield. And he throws the shield, and it misses Zemo, but it catches him off balance enough that he falls into that lava that they were using to make the smoke and to make the volcano seem real. And Captain America, being the Boy Scout that he is, still tries to save Baron, wants to pull him out, and it's too late. He's already gone. And so now, we finally have the victory. Captain America has defeated Baron Zemo here, and everything is all good. Everybody gets to go home, and Bucky and Agent 13 can get married and ride off into the sunset. Oh, wait a second.
Bum, bum, bum.
Now, remember earlier when Bucky Barnes had an opportunity to take the Supreme Hydra in, who we find out is Baron Zemo? Well, he failed at that, and it was in the end, it was his undoing, because he actually did get hit by the Zap gun. And his whole thing was, I didn't want to tell him, because then he would not have been able to concentrate on defeating Baron. I wanted him, basically, he sacrificed himself so that Cap could take Baron out and save everyone else. So he may not have been a super soldier, but he was a super soldier.
He still had the hero qualities in him.
Oh, yeah. And so we lose Captain America here. We lose Bucky Barnes. He dies here. And they have a funeral, and Agent 13, Sharon, is completely blaming the entire thing, everything, the entirety of it, on Captain America. Now the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did take out the rest of Hydra at this point. They couldn't do it earlier, but now they're just making quick work of the Hydra guys. I mean, and they take all them guys out. But then we see that, Agent 13 is really laying it on Cap hard, basically saying, you took this innocent boy and you turned him into a crime-fighting superhero, and you made him think he was more than he was. You have a superhero, the super soldier serum. He didn't have that. This is all your fault from the beginning. He'd still be here if you hadn't, messed with his mind and talked him into this, and had Cap really kind of feeling like, maybe this is my fault.
And I could see that point too. You take a young kid, throw him into war. Hey, you're right behind me. Let's go fight some Nazis. It's not an everyday kid's childhood to go fight Nazihood.
Right. Right. But, it's also like, how cool is that to be able to say, the biggest superhero, a real life superhero is asking you if you want to be his partner? Come on.
Yeah.
Steve Rogers knocks on my door. I'm out. I'm gone. Let's go. So, that really had Steve just questioning everything at that point. And we see that Captain America's suit is now hanging in basically like a museum glass case at this point. And he's just looking at it, just thinking about, everything that's gone on in his life, and, leading Bucky into all this, and just kind of feeling sorry for himself, feeling sorry for Bucky. And he gets
reflecting on things too. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And then he gets a visitor. Make sure I'm not skipping anything.
No, you're right.
Okay. So he gets a visitor walking in, and it's Rick Jones. And Rick Jones, tells him, hey, I know Bucky, did everything he could, and he didn't have the superhero serum, but he did a great job. I know you're too old to be doing this. Again, Captain America, Steve Rogers is being told you're too old to be Captain America. And this Bucky suit's getting a little tight on me. So what do you think? And I
like the part that Rick jumps out of a closet already dressed, in his outfit.
Yeah.
Like, I've been hanging out in this closet waiting for you.
Right. Yeah, I forgot that's what he did, was jumped out of the closet there. I had the page open and everything.
Right. I was like, oh, wait. I'm just going to wait for Steve Rogers to show up one of these days, and I'm going to jump out at him.
Yeah. He's telling him, like, hey, before you go, talk to you about something. You're a little old to be Captain America. You're doing pretty good as the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. somebody needs to pick up the mantle of Captain America. This Bucky suit's getting a little tight on me. And Steve Rogers is, you thinking what I'm thinking. And so basically that leads us into our very last panel with Bucky, the new Captain America, and the Watcher again. And we have our third Captain America in this title, but at least they all make sense here.
Right.
So by the end of this,
except for the Watcher's arms, man, he makes me jealous with them big old arms.
Right? He's kind of got like the sumo wrestler torso, but then he's got the big humongous arms and legs just all muscled up.
Right? Like, I've never seen him look like that. Usually you think of like a skinny dude or something, right. Them all muscle here, like he could take on the Hulk at any minute.
Right. And I love the whole cosmic scene that always follows him there.
Right.
In any of his panels, he's standing. There's always like that cosmic stuff behind him. So that's always cool too. And did I miss it, or did we didn't find out who the next Bucky was going to be? We know Rick Jones is now Captain America.
I kind of took it as Steve Rogers became Captain America and he's training Rick Jones to take over, kind of, you know what I mean? Because that picture looks like Rick Jones at the very end,
Okay, so maybe okay, I can see what you're saying now.
Like Bucky, he'll get to a certain age and then he'll take over for Captain America.
I got you. Okay.
Kind of how I looked at that one, as, he said, we'll talk, blah, 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 blah. So I kind of assumed that he became Captain America for a while to train Rick Jones. That's kind of how I took
think you're definitely right, because like you say, he says, we'll talk about it, Rick, okay, just not now. And they're walking out the door, and then the next thing you see is, as long as voices crying freedom for freedoms denied them, there will always be a need for the morals who call Captain America and Bucky. So yeah, I think you're right. Steve Rogers took back over the helm of Captain America and is just kind of, training up the Captain America and wait there.
The wait for the next third Captain America.
Yeah. And, if you think about everything that this storyline is going to change, we're not going to get Captain America in the Avengers, because at this point, excuse me.
Well, I turned down the Avengers and went to S.H.I.E.L.D.
Do what now?
He turned down the Avengers when he was talking to the president. He turned down the Avengers and went to S.H.I.E.L.D. instead.
Right, because he didn't have that time where he was basically frozen, encapsulated, and preserved in his young age and his youthfulness. So he's growing older, slower, and everything. So he knew the Avengers was not something he was going to be able to work with. So we don't get Captain America in the Avengers. And think about all the other Captain America storylines. We're not going to get all the big team ups, all the big events. Captain America is not going to be a part of Secret Wars. Captain America is not going to be a part of Civil War. He's wow.
Going with the X-Men and all that other stuff in there too.
Yeah, I mean, golly, it's going to definitely change the, so then if Cap's not going to be in the Avengers and he's not going to lead the Avengers, well, then who steps up and leads the Avengers at that point? And who's going to fill that slot there? And how does that change the course of things? So that's the cool thing that we talk about with these what if books, is you have one small detail and you read the story and it's like, okay, well, this and this changed. And then you sit back and think, well, that's going to change the course of action for this storyline and this storyline and this team and this story arc and this big event. I mean, there's so many things that are not going to happen at this point. We're not going to get the Winter War.
Civil War with Iron Man and Captain America fighting each other, Yeah. Is it just tip the scales all on one side, or it's going to tip the scales on the other, or is somebody going to step up and be Captain America or in place of him?
Right. I mean,
that's what I love about it, because then you're like, well, what if this happens, or what if that happens?
Right. Then you look at the Bucky. We don't ever get to see the Winter Soldier storyline. Does Falcon ever come into play? If they're going to continue to just change out the Captain America and Bucky characters and just put new people in those roles, do we ever get Falcon in there? Does he ever get a chance to join up? Maybe that doesn't happen.
Captain America.
Yeah, because we know that later on Bucky does dorn the Captain America, and then we know that that the Falcon, he's gonna put his wings down and he's gonna pick up the shield. So this does happen, but not necessarily like it did in this book. And because of what happens here, we're not even going to get the chance to see those things happen because those characters might not ever come to be.
True. I mean, that's the great thing about it, because you don't know what would happen,
Yep.
And same thing with Rick Jones, that storyline is more with the Hulk than it is with Captain America, so that storyline already split right there, You got Hulk always saving Rick Jones, or Rick Jones doing this, or that, where the Hulk's involved more than you do Captain America. But now you got him teamed up with Captain America.
Right. So what does that do with the relationship with him and the Hulk? And, we know right now the Hulk and Captain America, they're kind of at each other's throats the last time we saw them. So now he's running around with Captain America. Is that going to change the relationship between Captain America and the Hulk, Steve Rogers and the Hulk, or Rick Jones and the Hulk? I mean, who knows? Who knows?
Right. I mean, doesn't Rick Jones become Samson or something later on in the Hulk?
I'm not sure. Maybe.
Yeah, something like that. I think he gets powers one way or another, and that's the thing too. Does he get powers while he's with Captain America?
Yeah. And they talked about
not get powers because he's with him now.
And they even talked about here, when he was talking to Captain America about taking over, that we'll give him some time to come up with another dose of the super soldier serum, and then I can take that, and then I can be just as good as you are.
Right.
So, does that happen? Are they able to create another super soldier? If that was to happen, then maybe things can kind of start to get back on course, but who knows? Maybe Rick Jones loses his mind, and now we have an evil super soldier running around.
Does Captain America fall in love with the Agent 13, and yet this one kind of twisted it, and made her fall in love with Bucky instead of Steve Rogers?
Yep.
That was kind of a twist in there. Because he was too old at this point for her. Freaking out on him,
Yeah, because at this point he's too old for her anyway.
Right.
Yeah, that was one thing. The couple things that really cracked me up was just how easy they were making out being the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to be, and just continuing to call Captain Steve Rogers old. Like, you're just too old, man. You can't do it. You can't do it. We know you're still pretty strong and all this, and then seeing Steve Rogers really question himself and question his abilities, because that's not Captain America. That's not Steve Rogers. I wouldn't call him vain, but he's very sure and confident in himself at all times. And I think that makes for a great superhero to always have that confidence in yourself and your abilities, and not have
all the way around too.
Yeah.
If you show confidence, your team shows confidence. It's always one of them things in there. If you're doubting yourself and your teammates see you doubting yourself, are they going to start doubting themselves? You always have to have that confidence. Hey, we're going to win this no matter what. We're going to keep going, and that's the spirit of Captain America. No matter what, I'm going to come through this. I'm going to, I might not get the bad guy, but I'm going to defeat all Hydra, except for one guy who's going to get out of my grasp, but I'll defeat 50 other guys,
Right. And I'll get that guy the next go around.
Right. Fight another day,
Yeah. I really enjoyed the Baron Zemo character as a villain. I think he was a great villain through these storylines, and I hate that we haven't gotten very much on the Red Skull side of things, but I think we will later on. But the Baron Zemo, I mean, to be able to kind of learn a little bit about that character is really cool, because you don't hear a whole lot about him later on, I don't think.
No, I mean, he's not one of them main bad guys, I guess. But
Yeah, he's not a flagship villain.
right. I mean, he's a guy that Red Skull hired to kill Captain America, you know.
Right.
So you're not a grunt, but you're close to it, you know.
You kind of almost feel bad for him because, you know, he gets given this impossible mission. And then when he fails, well, the guy shoots him and then he just deserts him and leaves him for dead. Well, then he finally gets, you know, he you know, works out for him a little bit. And then there at the end, he still ends up getting taken out anyway. And, but yeah, it was a great storyline. I definitely think this was a much, much more exciting issue, a much better issue. It changed the stakes a whole lot more as far as the Marvel timelines go with the canon stuff than the last issue did. I think with the last issue, I really think for the most part, everything would have been okay for the most part. This one, there's a lot of holes that this is going to leave, and, you know, a lot of voids that we're not going to be able to have answers to, and you're never going to know. You know, maybe Thanos comes in and, hey, there's no Steve Rogers here, and he played a big part in this. Thanos just, everybody done.
Right.
You know, just not having Steve Rogers' positive attitude may just be enough to let some of these villains have the upper hand and be able to be successful.
And the last one jumped around from Human Torch to Submariner to this person to that person, back to Captain America died, which this person's going to take over for. Let's jump back to Human Torch. Let's go to Submariner. Let's go back to Captain. He died again. Let's make somebody else Captain. You know, it just seemed like every couple pages they, you know, Cap died. Let's make somebody else. You know, this
Absolutely.
one, at least you could follow it. Like you said, you may not know the ending, but you have a pretty good idea what the ending's going to be. And for me, Bucky would be the best ideal person because he fought with Cap, you know, thrown the shield several different times, you know, knows his fighting style. To me, he'd make more of a ideal Captain America than anybody. But like we found out, he died because he doesn't have superpowers and all that other stuff like the real Captain America.
Yeah, I mean, he would definitely be able to convince people more that it's just the same guy, just by being able to kind of I can't think of the word. Yeah, imitating Steve Rogers enough to where people really wouldn't know that Captain America wasn't still around, because, you know, it's kind of like when Batman was gone for a little while, you know, the villains look at it as, oh, it's, you know, anything goes now. It's open field. So you gotta have Captain America around just to keep the bad guys at bay a little bit. So, but yeah, great issue. I enjoyed it. And next week we have issue number 7. Issue number 6. Which is, I don't have that one. Do you have issue number 6? That's the Fantastic Four.
Well, let me go check real quick. I think I do.
You should. I sent it to you. That's what it is. Yeah. What if what if the Fantastic Four had different superpowers? So that one I can imagine being a pretty big deal there.
Yep. Because there's a lot of these covers that kind of look the same, you know, something with Fantastic Four. You know, there's a lot of different ones like that.
Yeah, so I look forward to reading that one. I can definitely expect that one to have a lot of twists and turns.
I got a True Believers one.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
So if they made a True Believers out of it, it's got to be a good one then.
You don't have one?
I'll probably pick one up this week.
Well, I can send you the True Believers one. I can't send you this one. I got this from Two Brothers, so this one has to stay in my collection.
Yeah, man, it's all good. All good. I think I got a guy at a shop that's probably got one. He's got a bunch of them, so I'll check and see if he's got one and let you know.
All right, just let me know, and if you don't have it, I'll send it out right away to you.
All right, cool, man. I appreciate it. Let's check the chat real quick here. Yeah, that should be a good one. And yeah, there is a lot of the Fantastic Four covers in this series that are similar. So appreciate everybody for watching live, and thank you to everybody that's watching on the replay. Hope you guys are enjoying this series as we're going through these. And we will see you guys next Wednesday to talk about what if the Fantastic Four had different superpowers.
Stay tuned.
So, all right, guys. Well, we hope you guys have a good rest of your week. And as always, collect your way.